I'm Stephen J. Abramson. Today is December 19th, 2012, and I have the great honor to interview a true legend. This is what a legend looks like, Shelley Berman, and we are in Bell Canyon, California, and this is for the Archive of American Television. So, Shelley, let's begin. Here's the first question. What was your name at birth?
At birth? I think it was Sheldon. And a little later in life, I picked another name to be a middle name, and I forgot it. I don't remember what I chose, but it certainly wasn't anything clever like Shelley Leonard. I wouldn't be named Leonard for anybody. No way.
Were you called Shelley from the time you were a kid?
I was called Sheldon. I tried to say Shelley. It took my parents a long time to understand that. But I loved them. They were pretty good parents. And so I just cursed them. Why can't I have a nice middle name? Well, they said, you don't have one. Try to live without it.
When were you born and where?
When I was born, I was, I think, 1925. And where? I think somewhere in Chicago, somewhere. My mother gave birth.
And did you grow up in Chicago?
I grew up in Chicago. My father working as a bartender sometimes, a cab driver other times. He wasn't so clean. It was, of course, Prohibition times. And my father found that if you worked a certain kind of little club, you can make a living. My grandmother, who was the matriarch of our family, she put it to work. She was perfect in making the whiskey, making whatever it was she could, and selling it, bottling it. I recall her bottling beer, too. It was wonderful what my grandmother did because she was giving 3 families a life. We couldn't get on otherwise.
What was her name?
Frida.
And what was your father's name?
My father's name was Nathan Berman.
How about your mother? What was her name?
My mother was Irene, and she married my father.
Did she work outside the home?
Who?
Your mom.
My mom? Yes, she found work every time there was. And it was hard to find work, but it was, everybody was poor. Everybody was poor. Nobody had anything, but the fact that you couldn't, it was against the law to make whiskey or drink whiskey, or that was the thing that fed so many people. You could just be against the law.
Was there one particular job that your mom did, or was it a variety of things?
Oh, my grandmother is the big whiskey maker over there.
Okay.
My mother was getting jobs wherever she could, and sometimes she was a sales girl. Sometimes she was selling dresses. to women. That was my mother. But whatever she could do, she would do, and we always had food. We always had a way. My father always found a way too. A little later on in my life, I realized what my father does for a living, and it was more than being a taxi driver. He would not. He would of course pick up a load and carry it on, carry the person on. They were called a load, but what else he could do? He knew where the girls were, and I'm talking about the girls. If they weren't out on the street, they would be in my father's phone book. And he knew where to take these women, these guys who were looking for a woman. So whether he was beautiful according to law, whether he was even acceptable according to law, no, that was impossible.
What traits do you think you inherited from your parents?
I'm sorry?
What traits do you think you inherited from your parents?
What traits?
Traits.
Have I inherited from my parents? First of all, everybody who met me said, "It's the picture of you, Nate. It's the picture of you, Nate." I was physically exactly like my father. And sometimes I would wish my father was better looking. But I looked exactly like him. What other traits? I was a glowing coward. And that wasn't a trait that I picked up from my parents. I was just afraid to live. There was so much going on, and I had a card to go and get food. And I'd go to the grocery, and they'd give me a list to take to go to the grocery, and then he would tell me the amount of money, and I would put my card down so that I could get that food. We were on relief. There was no other way for us to exist. So my father had a way to exist and help his family exist, and that was out of order, out of line, lawless. My grandmother, who was the matriarch, she was the biggest crook of all. She was a bad girl, but 3 families living in this one flat survived because of her.
Was there humor in your house, in your household?
Yes, there was always fun. There was always something laughing about, something to laugh about. We had that. And there was big laughter. It was big. And I looked at the laughter and loved it. I couldn't believe how funny we were. One time I was listening to the radio, and somebody was trying to get to make a winning scene on that thing. It was, I guess, I forgot what they called that show, but if you did something with talent, it was Major Bowes.
Okay. Amateur hour?
Huh?
Major Bowes amateur hour, something like that?
An amateur hour.
Yeah.
It wasn't an amateur.
Yeah.
It was an amateur hour, but if you did it good, you'd be doing very well for yourself. So I heard somebody do what he did was called the ball base game. And he got up and he said it did ball base game. So he did all of this. How you he would hit it the ball base. It would, and it would go. So this guy made me laugh. It made me laugh so much that as soon as I could steal it, I did. I made my friends laugh by stealing that ball base game. A little later on, I realized that what I was doing was not fair, not right. And so I had to find something else. And I found another thing that I could steal, and another thing, and a few jokes. But that was it. And pretty soon I realized there was nothing. It was not going to do anything for me. And so I stopped that. I stopped doing this stealing of other people's humor.
When did you first realize you were funny?
I thought I was funny when I did the ball base game. But it was not legal funny. It was not right funny.
Were you a teenager?
Huh?
Were you a teenager?
I was a teenager. And yes, I could make people laugh at a party. Whatever. I would make fun of the people at the party, make fun of myself with the people at the party, and I'd make jokes about these people. And luckily for me, there was nobody working against me. I was the funny one at the parties. I would make another, and if I heard a joke, I would tell the joke. And that I wasn't stealing. I would tell the joke. So if I could make somebody laugh, I would make them laugh. It wasn't always going to be working. There were times when my standing up to show off was ignored or spurned. I couldn't be the big shot at all the parties. Forget about it. And soon, I'm trying to find my own way. But I thought, I'll never find my own way. No, I'm not there. I'm not going to do this. I like to show off. That's what I like to do.
Is that the one thing you knew you wanted to do when you were growing up? I mean, did you know what you wanted to be?
No, I did not know what I want to be, and even that, I did not know what I want to be. That was going to take me until I can do something else, do something better. And so when we had Halloween, I would be funnier than everybody. And not everybody's going to laugh. I was really a pain in the neck in most parties.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Manley High School in Chicago. It was a good high school, and there I was content with learning what to do. I wanted to just graduate. I wanted to do well. I didn't want to be funny at that point. It didn't mean anything to me. And somewhere along the way, we were attacked by the Japanese.
So this is World War II, right?
Yes, I was old enough, just old enough, almost just old enough to join the Marines, join the Navy. I enlisted in the Navy, and I did well. And I was learning everything. I mean, I became a medic. I was okay in the Navy. I was situated very well. I thought I was going to be wonderful in the Navy. And I would stay in that place, the Great Lakes Naval Training Station. When I got to be a corpsman, I was on the I beg your pardon, the East Coast. I can't think of the place, but it was,
Virginia.
huh?
Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia, yeah. It was a hospital, a military hospital, naval military hospital. And I was working there, and I was doing okay. And a chance for a ship came up, and I was a little scared, but I was a little happy finally to be doing something. And somebody, one of the people that I was caring for, somehow I caught his pneumonia. Oh. And it got worse and worse and worse. And it left me with asthma. And I was physically discharged.
So what led you to be a drama student at the Goodman Theater in Chicago?
Well, I knew I wanted to study something, and I knew I wanted to study the theater. By then, I knew what I wanted to do. By then, I had done enough plays at the Goodman Theater. I had appeared in enough plays. Not to mention Iago. And loving to play Iago in this play. I was doing fine. Then I went with Sarah, a girl that I met, and I loved. There was another girl in my way, and it was a girl named Geraldine Page. And she and I were big time, but she was a little bit impossible to be with. Sarah was just adorable, and she was right for me. I felt so good with her. And she treated me beautifully, and oh my God, I couldn't wait to do something nice for her. And around this time, we were both going to the same school, and so, what the hell? We got married. And, of course, Sarah had grown up being a Catholic. She was a Catholic. And I was a pretty responsive Jew. I really was stuck in my Jewishness. And there was this Goy.
So how long have you been married?
I married her then, and I don't know how long we've had it, Sarah.
66 years.
Huh?
66.
66
Oh,
years.
it's 66 years we've been married. I think it's got to end somehow, because I don't know. I still like to be the boss, and she doesn't feel that I should be the boss, and so I kept planting. Sometime I'm going to hit her one. Baloney, absolute baloney.
You also worked at the Woodstock Players in Chicago.
Oh, yes.
Who were some of the peers you were working with back then, besides Geraldine Page?
Oh my God, I can't. Tom Bosley. Mm-hmm. Trying to think of some names.
Was Betsy Palmer one of the? Was Betsy Palmer?
Betsy Palmer was in the group, yeah, but I didn't take to her. I took to Sarah, and so we did have a nice group, and we were Woodstock Players was more than just stock company. We were subsidized by the whole town. They made sure that we had a place to live. They made sure that we had food. They made sure that we didn't languish somewhere. We were so lucky to have this, and so we played it all. We played it all. And Taming of the Shrew, Geraldine Page. One time, Jerry Page, who played the shrew, one time I used to, we will be wedded a Sunday, I had this line. We will be wedded a Sunday, and I did a flourish, and I whacked, as I passed her wrist that was over here, I whacked that, got that wrist, and made myself a wonderful thing happening, and it was like a dancing move. And so one time we will be wedded a Sunday, but her wrist wasn't there anymore, and I almost fell off the friggin' stage. So I almost fell off the stage, and I was terrified all for those few seconds, and when I got off that stage, I wanted to hit her, see? So there we were, ready to tear each other to pieces, and as I started going there, there's another actor by the name of Tom Bosley, who was with our company, and he got in our way. So Tom Bosley got hit, and as we swung at each other, he got hit by us. And did you do improv too at this point, or were you doing plays? No, we were not doing improv. Okay. We didn't know what the heck that was.
Okay.
At that time. That time would come later, much later, when after a few whacks at stock companies, and I did, as an actor, play roles in various stock companies. I'd go there, I'd work and pretty much plead for the job.
But acting was what you wanted to do, right?
Acting was perfect.
Not necessarily be a comedian, but to be an actor,
No, I didn't
right?
think of being a comedian.
Yeah.
But being a performer, of being an actor, that was swell, and that's what I studied for 4 years at the Goodman Theater.
I read that you also taught ballroom dancing at Arthur Murray. True?
Yes. yes, but this was later.
Okay.
After my experience in the Goodman Theater, and after our experience in the Woodstock Opera House in still in Illinois. Yeah.
When did you first become aware of television and have an idea that you wanted to work in television?
I didn't even think of it early. I just thought of it on the stage, and that's really where my head was. But then there was this actor I'd worked with one time in New York, and but this was a serious play. It was not Chicago. I keep trying to remember what they called it over there, with a bunch of Jewish kids would want to do the. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, how did you get your job in New York on Tonight with Steve Allen? How did that come about?
Oh, that's later, much later.
That's in the 50s, right?
Yeah. Well, I started. I wrote for Steve Allen. Wrote a sketch for Steve Allen. Where was this? Was this while I was not? When was that, Sarah?
That was in New York City.
And we were living in New York then, and yeah, I joined a company to do a play in New York. I think it's Stalag 17. I did that play, and it was great because we toured everywhere, and I was getting my guns because I'm an actor. I'm an actor. That's it. Well, what do you do? I'm an actor, and I just loved saying it. So here I was in this one thing where I can just go through and get applause and get laughter. Oh, it was a good play, and I was doing fine. I loved it. Then there was another play, but a chance for a play. But this one guy who saw the show that I was doing at that time, he said he let me know that he worked for Steve Allen. Now, I said, if I write something for Steve Allen, can you hand it to him? Sure. So I spent a week writing a piece of material, and I called on this man and gave him the thing, and it was immediately purchased. What I wrote was purchased. Wow. So I wrote something else. Yes, and he liked that, and he did that, a show. I was giving all the characters on his show. I was making sure they all had good parts. And he said, one day, Steve Allen said, maybe you want to write something for yourself someday, and you can do it on the show. Well, as if it came from nowhere, put together an act right away. I wrote a thing called And Goldie's Sweet Potato. It was one of those things where the people put a little growth in a pot and put it on a windowsill, water it. Well, this sweet potato plant, I saw it in my own house, and it was terrifying. It had all these tentacles going out over here and over there. So this thing was about the possibilities of being strangled by this. And so I wrote this thing for Steve Allen, and he gave me the right to do it, to perform it. So I did, and Goldie and the Sweet Potato. I did that thing, and I did another thing for him. And now I'm saying to my wife, I'm through being a writer. I'm a comedian. How do you know, damn it? How do you know? You think you know. You think you've made a decision. Well, I'm still going to stay there, but and be a comedian. No, I am now a comedian.
Had Steve Allen offered you a full-time job? I mean, were you now working for the show?
Who?
Did Steve Allen offer you a full-time job by that point?
No, he didn't offer me a full-time job.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I suppose if when I wrote a certain sketch, I could work on the show.
Okay.
But it was something else was so marvelous that I could write a show write something for myself, and I was doing that. But then I get a phone call from a guy that I worked with on that show in New York, that show in New York. And this fellow's name was Martin Landau. Now, I don't know if this name is clear, remembers by you.
Of course.
But he had, he had an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Landau, perfect guy. Called me up, said, I've talked to these people in Chicago, and you have to go. You really should go there. Well, yes, but I'm a professional comedian now. Says, don't be an idiot. Do the best thing for your career. All right. I said, okay, I'll go. I went down to Chicago from the height of New York. I went to Chicago, and I saw this group of players called the Compass Players. And there were lots of people in there that fascinated me. A fellow named Mike Nichols, a girl named Elaine May. There was really other people here, and many of, it was a nice big group. And Severin Darden, wow, what a hit, what he was. And he was such a great comedian, or comedy act. But I was getting opportunities to improvise for the audience. And I would grab it every chance I got. If if I could get the stage, and I'd be able to do anything I wanted. And Mike Nichols wasn't pleased by me, because I was a microphone hog. I was, a stage hog. I wanted all the time on stage as I could get, all the laughs as I could get. And wow, I was doing very well. But Mike and Elaine, they had problems with me, and naturally, because I was stealing the show every time. And especially good when the audience was encouraged to shout out a suggestion. And one night they said, the morning after the night before. Imagine that, the morning after the night before. I really ran to Elaine and said, Elaine, I'd like to do that thing, morning after the night before. Well, I'm doing something with Mike. Okay, but, well, all right. So I had to pretend that all the other characters were somewhere else. So I invented all the characters. There was a party, and there was the guy who ran the party, and then there were the other characters. And I found the other characters, and I found that I had the worst hangover ever in anybody's life. And I began with the words, "Oh God, oh God, 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 oh God, oh God," and stuff like that. And pretty soon, then I call up, oh God, hello, and then finally I get to talk to this guy I'm talking to, and by now my hangover had already warmed the stage, because they were screaming, and then now I'm doing another part of this, and all the humor, everything that happened on that stage that night, that was not written, not prepared. It was created as the audience saw it. And I began to feel, okay, I know how. I began to feel that maybe that's what I want to do. And so when another opportunity came up to improvise right there in front of the audience, boy, was I excited. I had no idea of the talent. I had no idea of the ability. So I was now being recognized all over the damn place. People were, it wasn't the best thing that ever happened in the world. I mean, it was still a performer by a funny guy.
Did the Compass Players did that later become Second City in Chicago?
The Compass Players is exactly what became Second City. We were there, and we were Compass Players. We were not the Second City, but it would become the Second City.
Did that experience doing improv, did that inspire your acting style? Did it inform your acting style?
Well, I certainly, but my work at the Goodman Theater was not forgotten. I had to have good speech. I had to be able to interpret and to use. So it wasn't just, I'll do this, not this, not this. It wasn't quite that simple. Yes, but because I did well with improvisation, I was able to go into this other place where I could do my improvisation and know that I can do it and do it. So at that point, I began to be a comedian. During this point of that first improv, I was doing improvisation, and yes, I was being generally accepted, and then I auditioned at a nightclub. The first nightclub I even tried was on the was Mr. Kelly's in Chicago. It was up near North. It was near North in Chicago. Mr. Kelly's. I worked there and could work there. There was a great nightclub, and I would work with incredible people. Ella Fitzgerald would do her show. I would do my show. Maya Angelou, the poet who became an important poet, but she was on my bill.
In 1955, you worked on the Philco Goodyear television playhouse. What was it like doing live TV?
Well, I'm trying to remember who the star was, the Philco.
Well, it was an anthology series. You mean the episode that you did, or the?
I'm trying.
It was called Time of Delivery. The piece you were in.
I'd like to point to the audience and tell them, every once in a while, I look over there, and I can't help it, because you're probably saying, what are you looking at? And what I'm looking at is my wife sitting over there, and all this forgotten stuff, all this memory stuff that I'm missing right now because I'm an old codger.
Well,
so I turn over there and I look at my wife, and I want her to let me know what the answer to this is, and she goes this way. So
well,
how does your wife help you? By you doing lip readings?
I can tell you that the co-stars were Helen Auerbach, James Broderick, and Martin E. Brooks in that episode. Does that ring a bell?
And that, which one was that?
The Time of Delivery was the show. And this is 1954.
Time of Delivery?
Mm-hmm.
I do not remember.
And written by, is this David Shaw and Patty Chayefsky? Or they're among the show's
Patty
writers.
Chayefsky,
I don't know
yeah.
if they wrote that episode. But
I don't remember it.
okay. Well,
forgive me, but
but it was live TV. The experience of live TV.
oh,
Was that different than being on a stage?
oh, it'd be definitely being a wonderful thing. The fact that I was on live TV, because I got onto several shows which were live TV, which were comedy. There were contests And so I don't know about this one.
Okay. But you went to work in 1957. You made several appearances on the Steve Allen Plymouth show. So,
oh yes.
what was the difference between that show and the original Tonight Show with Steve Allen?
It was no big difference. I just had a chance to be on that show, and I would prepare or have already prepared a good routine, because I was doing a lot of comedy now, and I was working in various nightclubs at that point. So I was able to prepare. And I just, one of the things I did, I can do.
So what was it like working with Steve Allen in the Tonight Show days and then later on?
Steve Allen was a charm, an absolute charm. He was the easiest performer I've ever seen. I saw him, when I saw him, I was excited. When I worked with him, it was even more exciting. He was the top man, just a good guy. And I loved watching him when I wasn't up there. So that's the way it is.
Was there a point in your career, a lot of comedians, they get to a point when as soon as they walk on stage, people start to laugh without even saying anything. Was there a moment like that for you around that time, where people just anticipated that you'd be funny?
Yes, that happens, where you're getting a lift by the audience sooner than you think. But you're not really getting laughs. You're sort of, and it's not without earning them. You do a walk. You do a walk. You do a look. You do little things. You look over here, give that, or see, or you can wave at this one, or that, and now you're buttoning your jacket, or you're unbuttoning your jacket, and everything you're doing is getting laughter. It's incredible. But the audience is already primed. They already know. And they're going to go when you go.
So they're rooting for you.
I think it's very important to have that feeling that they're rooting for you.
What kind of sketches did you do on that Steve Allen show, the Plymouth show? Were there certain types of sketches you did on that show? The Steve Allen Plymouth show. Sketches. What kinds of sketches did you do?
What is a step?
Sketches.
Oh, sketches.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do sketches. A sketch requires more than one person. I did little phone calls. I didn't do anything but. I knew how to make a funny phone call. And I wasn't going to monkey around with something else. So it was safe, it was good, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't something that you would be ashamed of. So no, you're safe and you want to stay safe. But when you're doing improvisation, and if you should do improvisation, which is likely, you're taking such a risk. You risk failure. But if you're good at it, and if you know how to believe, mostly you got to know how to believe and how to trust that person you trust, and that person is yourself. When you do that, that's part of the artistry.
the phone calls you used to make, it became a signature for you. I mean, you were famous for those phone calls that you did, that you performed.
Yeah.
You mentioned, is this something you first started doing with the Compass Players? Is that where you first developed that?
I think, yes, I think that's definitely begun with with my time with the Compass Players. That's when it came. The audience, because the audience, as a matter of fact, we get another suggestion, and I would try that, and we get another suggestion.
What was a typical kind of conversation you'd create for one of these routines?
What kind of...
Give me an example of one of these routines where you were on the phone and kind of creating a whole world of a conversation.
Hello, Al? Al? It's me. Me? What do you mean you don't know me? Come on now, you know me. I'm the guy who borrowed $12 from you. Remember? That's why Oh, don't use language like that with me. I mean, I didn't deserve that. I was about to give the oh my. That nobody's ever called me that. Come on, be nice to me right now. Well, okay, if you're going to be like that, I'm not going to pay you back. That's all. If you want to be a bum, that's the way it is with me, you know. Did improv, didn't have a suggestion. I just went there. That's the way we do. Because I didn't have anything for you.
The telephone routine was done later by another comedian after you. Who was that, and what are your thoughts about this other person doing this telephone routine?
Well, he took it, and he ran with it. And there's not too much I can say about it. It was kind of eerie to get on tour, to be on tour, and you get into one city and you do your show, you do your regular show, and you read the critic the next day. You read the critic, and you find out that you've taken some of his stuff. You're accused of stealing his material. Wow. But that happened. Not a lot, but it could happen, and it did.
But those critics were misinformed because you were the first. For the record, let's just say that you were the first.
Of course I was the first.
And we're talking about Bob Newhart, obviously.
Yeah. Do you think I didn't know?
Yeah, I know you know. I knew you knew. Were you also doing a lot of stand-up comedy? You said you were working clubs around this time, like in the mid to late 50s.
Yes, I was doing stand-up at the Blue Angel in New York. There were places all over the country, and then some places in Canada that always wanted you to work, to be there, and to do a week or do 2 weeks, do 10 days, whatever. So there was a good way to make a living and to have the excitement of celebrity.
Was there anyone you tried out routines on, or did you just go up and just do them?
No, I never tried them out on anybody. I'm standing at the Hungry Eye I'm standing on the top of the stairs at the Hungry Eye in San Francisco, and which is the great club, greatest of all over there. And I'm talking to my buddy, Bill Dana, and I talked to him about where we're living over there, and he's talking about where he's living over there. And I'm talking more about the kind of thing that you can expect if there's kind of a place, and what can happen to you, and what the mistakes that are made over there. And pretty soon, we're laughing at it. I'm doing this thing, and I'm laughing. And I said, Bill, I'm going to do it. He says, good, go right out. Do it right now. So I do a thing. The Traveling Man's Nightmare is what I did, and boom, a big piece of comedy. So, but it was something that we just, because we were talking about it. And I'm doing improv right there, working with him, talking to him, because he's an old buddy. And there was a time where I just built a routine out of memory and out of what we said here, and go.
Did the blacklist during the 50s, did that affect you at all? Did that affect your career?
The blacklist, well, no, thank God. I did not have a big trouble with the blacklist, although I was fearful of it all the time. So I was very careful.
Did you know other people who were affected personally? Or?
Yes. Yes, there were many people who ran into trouble.
Was it a scary atmosphere? I mean, was it a...
Oh, it was a terrible atmosphere. It was really awful, and that's when I bought my rifle.
I want to mention a couple of shows, and if you have a comment about them, just to see what your take is. George Gobel's show and George Gobel.
50 perky. When he did his little hop around the room, he was so adorably funny. He was adorable. He was so absolutely so good and so straight. Oh, I loved it. He made me laugh always.
And you appeared on the Dinah Shore show.
Dinah Shore. She sang and I sang. Mostly, I knew that she knew that guy who played Iago. I think I knew. And I looked over here, and my wife just went, yeah.
Well,
Rosemary Clooney.
Rosemary?
Rosemary Clooney?
Rosemary
Oh,
Clooney.
oh, what did I say?
Talking about Dinah Shore.
Oh, Dinah Shore.
Right.
Oh, I'm talking about Rosemary.
Oh,
Clooney.
okay. Well,
But Dinah Shore was just wonderful to perform with.
We're going to leave it there.